2 years ago, I was lying on a sidewalk in front of my house in Philadelphia with bullet wounds in both of my legs. I remember the police helicopter flying overhead and my mother screaming. As my friends and family watched, the police used my shirt to stop the bleeding. How I got there is a sad story, but one repeated far too often in our cities. The day I got shot started like any other day for me. I was working at Starbucks as a barista, and after work, I went straight home, changed my clothes, and I sat on the porch talking to my mom. She had just gone in the house, and a group of friends of mine ran up to me and said that one of our friends was just jumped 2 blocks away. Now, they wanted me to ride with them to get revenge. I knew then that I didn't want to go, but I had a choice to make. Do I go with them and risk being hurt, or do I stay home and risk being called a punk? Y'all all obviously know the decision I made that night. I'm not proud of myself of that decision. I gave in to peer pressure. But sometimes young people make dumb mistakes and sometimes they pay with their lives. I was lucky. That's why I decided to join City Air, because I knew that I wanted to give back to my community to help other young people, to prevent them from making the same choices that I did. The year I served, I was in a high school in Philadelphia named Benjamin Franklin High School. My team and I, we did in-class support, after-school programming, and college and career guidance to almost half the whole school. But we did more than that for our students. We were role models. They looked to us for advice. I shared with them my dreams, and I got them to even think about theirs. It makes me think of this student that I worked with all this year. His name was Ray. He was a 9th grader. When I first met Ray, he would be off in the class, sleeping, not participating at times, being disruptive. So every day I went up to him and I opened his math textbook and I showed him what the class was working on. He'll look at the book and just shut it. But day on and day on, I kept on doing this until he started to trust me and he started to believe in himself. And after that year, Ray teacher thanked me for all the work that I've done with Ray. But more importantly, Ray thanked me for always bothering him to do his work. Now, Ray, at the end of the year, Ray finished all his classes, and he now is a junior in high school, and is a lot better than him almost dropping out of in ninth grade. So all these experiences, it make me think about my bullet wounds on my legs, and it reminds me of the promise that I made to myself and to all the kids that I served through City Air to not let these bullet wounds define who I am or who I'm going to be. My name is Leon McClain, and I proudly serve as a City Air member for City Air Philadelphia and then again for City Air Los Angeles. Now I'm currently back home in Philadelphia, where I'm enrolled in school and where I plan on becoming a teacher so that I can play my role and to continue my work with students like Ray and to give hope to a generation of kids that desperately need our help. Thank you.
First Lady Laura Bush, Mayor Bloomberg, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to thank the Service Nation, the National Public Land Day, the Green for All, and the Corps Network for their support in celebrating our 75th anniversary. My name is Walter Atwood. I served in the nation's first service organization, the Civilian Conservation Corps. I was born on a farm in Kansas and was one in 3.5 million boys who served in the CCC. After completing high school in 1939, I joined the CCC in 1940 and served in Worland and Basing, Wyoming in 1940, and served in Worland, Wyoming and Lowell, Idaho. The CCC was one of the great life-saving programs during the Depression. It was how great we worked for $5 a month. An even greater feature was that we were actually paid $30 a month, but 25 of that was sent home to our parents or guardians. And that was a life-saving program for the families and also these communities. Most of us continued serving our country by serving in World War II and winning that one for our country. Together we made this country what it is today. We invented and produced many of our outstanding inventions that are in use today. The CC boys planted 3 billion trees among many conservation projects. And I didn't know people would count 3 billion back then. I'm sure that many of you have seen the results of the CCC work in the many parks that you have visited. I will not dwell on many of the outstanding accomplishments during those years, but bring your attention to the fact that an organization like this is highly desirable today. The establishing of a CC-type agency can clean up parks, forests, etc., and be a ready workforce for disasters such as hurricanes, tornadoes, forest fires. At the same time, it would give employment to the unemployed, school dropouts, underprivileged, gang members, welfare recipients, and even selected prisoners. I'll get this straightened out in a minute. I was president of the National Civilian Conservation Corps alumni for several years and now chairman of the board of the Civilian Conservation Corps Legacy. The name was changed to attract the younger generation to serve and many of the alumni who are going to be departing our world in the next few years. I could continue to expound on our work we did in the CCCs, but I'll leave that to another time. I believe that we were the greatest generation. We earned a place in history, and our heritage is here to stay. But now it's time for a new generation of America to serve. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Antonio Ramirez. I am a graduate of the YouthBuild Americore program in Rockford, Illinois. 10 years ago, I was just another lingering youth going through the streets in my community, wondering what was next for me. Not knowing that I had a voice, struggling to survive the economical stress a person endures in a low-income family setting. I was involved in negative street violence. Like so many young men, with no direction, no connection to society, disconnected, misguided, and just trying to avoid to be killed, as my best friend was, murdered to violence in gang streets. Then I found YouthBuild Americore. YouthBuild is a national program that provides equal emphasis on educational, job training, and service in our communities for out-of-school youth at the age of 16 to 24. They also have the opportunity to earn a GED or high school diploma while building affordable housing for low-income families and homeless in their communities. Every year, 8,000 of us grow to be servant, citizens, and leaders in 226 of America's poorest communities. The staff at YouthBuild show us love, respect, and we learn a lot from them. And I know this because I also served as a staff member in my YouthBuild program. Being involved in YouthBuild was perfect. I loved to build the homes in our communities for the homeless and the low-income families. I love the opportunity of serving as a leader, and through it, I was able to see a different outcome in my life, that I was able to serve my community and giving back to my community, and that I could become a hero and not just another hoodlum in my community. A hero for young people to look up to as I once was looking for. I was able to transform my life to a prosperous and more goal-oriented lifestyle, in which now my 2 sons and wonderful newborn daughter will be able to reap from my achievements. And now I have promising futures. Promising futures that I once was unaware of. Futures that are possible for them now. With my Americore Education Award, I was able to be the first in my family to receive my AA degree at my community college. Along with that, I was selected to be the commencement speaker of my graduating class. Recently, I was also named one of the upcoming 40 leaders under 40 in Rockford, Illinois. Before joining YouthBuild, all I knew was membership support, friendship through gangs. We need to offer more forms of support, direction, and path opportunities for our young people in our communities. Our communities need to make our young people feel like they belong. Be strong and positive identities for our young people by doing service that can benefit our communities and human beings. The surest way to break the cycle of poverty and violence in our communities is to give hundreds and thousands of young adults opportunities such as the one I was given by YouthBuild. President Franklin D. Roosevelt called for 100,000 boys in the woods when he formed the CCC. I say, let's have 1 million boys and girls in the woods, in the hoods, rebuild our communities and our lives. Thank you.
My name is Brianna O'Brien, and I'm an Americore alum. The first time I served as a disaster relief volunteer, I was 14 and went on a weekend trip to Fargo, North Dakota to help with the Red River flood cleanup. I did not come away with many reflections, other than the work was exhausting and floods cause a lot of damage. I returned to disaster relief work 8 years later to a devastated New Orleans 3 months after the levees failed during Hurricane Katrina and left 80% of the greater New Orleans area flooded. At the age of 23, the work was still exhausting. But with this disaster, I came away with many more and deeper reflections than the last time. Perhaps one of the most significant points was recognizing when your community becomes my community. Like many of the people who have given their time and energy in the wake of Hurricane Katrina, I had no connections to New Orleans, and initially thought that the 1,200 miles separating New Orleans from my hometown of Minneapolis, Minnesota, was too large of a distance for me to help, and made me think I shouldn't care. The reasons why I should care and serve came in the forms of hugs from homeowners, in celebrating the reopening of a local business, in sharing grief with a family, and recognizing a local musician on the radio. Disasters, I have found, erase the lines of mine and yours. I went to New Orleans uncertain that my contribution would count at all, but I found that my service and the service of all who have served before me is so significant, it is immeasurable. Through my work in New Orleans, I realized that service is always needed, even if it is in my own backyard or 1,200 miles away. I am proud to say that New Orleans is now my home. As a staff member for Hands On New Orleans, I continue to serve and help equip and encourage people from around the globe to serve alongside local residents to create these necessary and invaluable changes in our communities. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jennie Hansen. I am AARP's first baby boomer president. Yes, baby boomers. I am so pleased to be here and honored to represent AARP at the summit. As you know, AARP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization whose vision is to bring about a society for those who are 50 plus, live lives of dignity, purpose, and vibrancy. To make our vision a reality, AARP works to ensure that as people age, they can age as independently as possible and for as long as possible. And we rely heavily on our 40 million members, nearly half of whom volunteer each year. More than 9 million give back through AARP initiatives. AARP has a rich 50-year history of service. In fact, our founder, Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus, the first female principal of a multicultural high school in Los Angeles, made community service a prerequisite for attaining a high school diploma. That's because she believed it not only helped the community, but helped forge a bond and increase the self-confidence of her students. And volunteering led them to adopt a culture of service that would stand them and our country in good stead throughout their lives. I'm not sure how many of you know that the president and other members of the AARP Board of Directors, many of whom are here today, serve as volunteers. You know, I don't think I've ever worked harder in my life, nor felt a greater sense of fulfillment. It's a privilege to serve as an ambassador for an organization that is on the forefront when policy decisions are made affecting the quality of life for current and all future generations. AARP initiated a day of service shortly after 9/11. We wanted to tap into the feeling across the nation that people wanted to help, to do something concrete that would make life better for vulnerable Americans. This year marked the 8th time AARP closed its offices and invited everyone to take part in community service projects of their choice. On AARP's Day of Service, a host of AARP volunteers worked feverishly to complete the Andrus House in Washington, D.C. It's a wonderful tribute to our founder and an effort to create universal design households. Typically, you know, there's not usually the luxury of building a universally designed home from scratch. Still, the Andrus House was retrofitted so that people with changing needs could live there far more comfortably and safely than before. I'm proud I was able to do my part in helping some DC residents continue to live independently. And this is just a small example of our efforts to improve life for those 50 plus. Soon, you'll hear about AARP's latest report, Move to Give. But let me close by saying how excited AARP is to join our partners at Service Nation to increase civic engagement throughout this country. By all of us working together to promote a culture of service, we can solve some of the nation's toughest problems, strengthen our communities, and build a better future for our children, grandchildren, and our country. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Armando Jiminez, and I'm a student leader from the Bank of America. I want to start off by saying thank you to Bank of America and Service Nation for their support and student leaders. For those who are unfamiliar with the Bank of America Student Leader Program, each year the Bank of America selects student leaders in their recognition of their passion for community service and leadership. More than 1,000 students from all over the country have participated since 2004, and I was one of 230 students to participate in the program this year. I am a senior at the Salisbury School in Salisbury, Connecticut. Growing up in Hartford was challenging at times. As a member of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Hartford, I had the opportunity to receive mentoring and guidance. My motivation for my services and community and activities and dedication to my community sparked from watching my first coach, Mr. Jose Gonzalez. In addition to coaching, he dedicated his time to improving the community by hosting educational seminars, violence and drug prevention programs. His work also attracted parents and guardians to become more involved with their children. Following his footsteps, my involvement in the community consisted of similar activities, such as communicating with youth and being the best resource possible. As a student leader, I had the opportunity to work for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Hartford. There, I spent most of my time interacting with youth throughout the city. One aspect of my position was dealing with personal and domestic issues that many of the youth in Hartford deal with. Many of the children I worked with did not have a stable home or a safe haven to return to after they left the club. As a student leader, I appreciated having a role that made a dramatic impact on their everyday life, just like Mr. Jose influenced me. My experience as a Bank of America student leader was remarkable. Knowing that I am a part of something so positive and influential was a great feeling. Along with this achievement was a leadership summit in DC, a tremendous learning and networking experience. From the day I landed in DC, with visits to Capitol Hill, to classes such as business etiquette and personal strength finding sessions. One highlight of the summit was the education policy session that informed me about high school dropout rate and how I can help myself and my community in increasing that and attacking the issue. Moving forward, I plan on studying on business marketing and finance and also child psychology. As a student leader, I have identified personal strengths that I did not recognize in myself previously. And I know that these will help me make better decisions and deal with more situations as I step into the future. In conclusion, I'd like to share with you that I believe there is no set time or date to improving the world. I may not be able to do everything, but I can do something. If you cannot support the crowd, at least support one. Never be afraid to reach out into the dark, pull somebody into the light. Even if the change you made was as small as a grain of rice, smile and know that you took a step forward in making a change. Thank you.